During Operation Sindoor, we saw a rare consensus between the government and the opposition. Now that the operation is on pause or seems to be coming to an end, we seem to be seeing that consensus breaking down, particularly over the comments of the US President Donald Trump. The Congress wants Prime Minister to break his silence on Trump's comments on ceasefire, on trade, on Kashmir. What is the Congress party stand then?
Well, Rajdeep, first of all, thank you very much for having me on your show. Unfortunately, the United States of America has a rather unusual president. And so therefore, you have a gentleman who believes that back channeling is actually front channeling. And so therefore, you've had a series of statements which have come out from him, starting with the social media post on 10th of May, which was then followed up by an official press release by the Department of State from the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. And then during Mr. Trump's continuing tour of the Middle East, which is ending today, there have been a series of statements. So therefore, under those circumstances, it becomes difficult to discern as to what really is the import of those statements. Because if you analyze them one by one, there seems to be variance, at times contradiction in those statements. But having said that, it's very well documented in strategic literature that whenever there is a crisis or there's a flashpoint between two nations, other people do get involved in crisis management and crisis mitigation.
No, but you haven't answered my core question. Why is the Congress at the moment so anxious that Prime Minister Narendra Modi break his silence and in a way take on Donald Trump? It's almost as if the opposition at the moment wants to shoot off Donald Trump's shoulders.
Well, that's an absolutely erroneous read, Rajdeep, for a better word. After all, the President of the United States of America is the President of the United States of America. And therefore, if there are certain statements emanating from him, even if there may be some inherent contradictions, obviously, what really is the reality is something which the government of India needs to articulate. For example, as I was earlier pointing out, had it stopped with President Trump's social media post of 10th of May 2025, as was the case on the 28th of February 2019, while addressing a presser in Hanoi, he said that both the nations would pull back. Things would have ended, as I was earlier pointing out, that the United States has an unusual president. But what was extremely unusual in this case was the follow-up statement by the Department of State, which is the Foreign Ministry of the United States of America, which carried a very, if for the lack of a better word, a very pointed headline saying US brokered truce. So therefore, under those circumstances, obviously a rebuttal and putting the record straight should come from the political leadership.
Let us raise the other big question, Manish Tewari, that the opposition, particularly the Congress, is raising. Your party wants a special session of Parliament over what's happened over the last few weeks, Operation Sindoor, Pahalgam. All allies are not on board. Some, like NCP, are saying there is no need for a special session. Why is the Congress party insisting at this moment for a special session of Parliament?
Well, Rajdeep, for the simple reason, whenever we've been confronted with a grave national security situation, Parliament, as the highest representative body of the Indian people, has discussed in detail and sent out a message of national solidarity and unity. It happened when the Chinese aggression had taken place in 1962. I remember, if I recall correctly, from the 7th of November 1962 till the 16th of November 1962, both houses of parliament, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, had a complete discussion, even while the border war was playing itself out. Even during 26/11, if you would recall, since I had done the first presser on behalf of the Indian National Congress on the 28th of November in the evening, and the first congressperson who ever did a show was with you that night, Parliament was on. And during that Parliament session, senior ministers from the government, including the then External Affairs Minister, Mr. Pranab Mukherjee, the Prime Minister himself, and other senior ministers, had explained the chronology of events and the government's response. So therefore, it is not as if a Parliament session is going to degenerate into a he said, she said. After all, this is the same Parliament which in 1994 had passed a unanimous resolution that the only unfinished business of partition is the reclaim of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. That resolution was again reiterated unanimously by the Indian Parliament in 2012. So therefore, to extrapolate and begin on the presumption that a Parliament session is going to be a he said, she said, I think is a completely erroneous premise.
You know, Manish Tewari, you have given us a bit of a lesson in military history, but let me ask you as I conclude, Operation Sindoor itself. I had your colleague Shashi Tharoor on the show 2 days ago. He congratulated the Modi government, believed that the government had ensured that we hit the Pakistanis hard and smart, and he felt that it was the right thing to do. Do you also believe that the government has taken the right stand on Pakistan? In the UPA years, you were accused of strategic restraint, not doing enough. Now the government effectively is saying, "Humne ghar mein ghus ke mara Pakistan ko, hit them where it hurts."
Well, first of all, Rajdeep, every government takes national security decisions based upon the imperatives and the best information which is there before it. So therefore, to compare two national security situations, I don't think is the correct way of approaching any national security issue. Having said that, in my estimation, the government did the appropriate thing, that they targeted and efficaciously hit the terror infrastructure in Pakistan. It was an attempt once again to establish strategic deterrence. And I do hope this strategic deterrence sends a salutary message to Pakistan that the use of semi-state actors in order to perpetrate terror or to use terror as an instrument of state policy is something which the government of India, the people of India, and by people I mean the entire opposition in India, is not going to tolerate at all under any circumstances. So yes, the punitive strikes were necessary. It was an imperative. And I do hope it sends that salutary message and establishes the conventional deterrence that we hope to establish in order to ensure that Pakistan refrains from using these semi-state actors.
Are you therefore, Manish Tewari, going to give a word of praise at the end to Prime Minister Modi for sending out that firm message to Pakistan?
Well, I think, as I earlier said, every government acts in the best interest of the nation based upon the inputs that are available with it and the decisions it takes. So therefore, I have always been of the view that national security situations should not be looked through a partisan lens, and whatever is in India's interest, whatever serves India's strategic objectives, if they are furthered, that's something which should be appreciated.